going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the December 11, 2018 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. Public forum? Thank you. Call to the podium, Ms. Jane Eck, to discuss the bond.
Good evening, everyone.
evening.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
And
Year.
welcome back after the little vacation we had. I would ask the board to indulge me an extra minute in what I have to say. In fact, I'm going to read it. I have to say I was surprised to see the vote go down for the bonding of the much-needed work that needs to be done here at the school. 60 years ago, I graduated from the school. In fact, it'll be 61 this year. The second class to graduate from the present auditorium. My two sisters, believe it or not, this very room that you're sitting in tonight, graduated from that area right there, which was the stage. Mrs. Friedman probably knows, Iris, and where the athletic office and the little conference room across from the guidance office was the stage. This was the everything room right here. This was the gym, this was the auditorium where assemblies were kept, this is held, this is where the dances were held, and this is where graduation was held. Okay, till 1957. Okay? You might wonder where this was, which was right here where the athletic and the conference room is across from the guidance office. Yes, progress has moved forward, and with it wear and tear on the buildings. In my junior year in high school, 1957, I watched the completion of the elementary wing. That was 62 years ago. The Maple Avenue building, housing the business office and the district office, along with classrooms, is the newest section of the school. The high school office and the classrooms up and down the area, plus the wing where the art and music is held, is also very, very old. Many people ask, why can't the maintenance crew fix or do a lot of the work? We do not have a large crew, and they are busy every day keeping up with general repairs. They are not expert tile people or expert masons to repair the brick. As vice president of the Hunt Memorial Building, I know what it costs to repair brick. You just don't slap mortar on brick and think it's going to stay. There is a right way and a wrong way. If I broke a bone, I certainly would not go to one of my daughters to fix it. I would go to an orthopedic doctor to have it done. The wear and tear you have on your cars and homes, you fix. The same with the school. This is a large complex with 3 different buildings. Next year, I have a granddaughter who will be in high school. She is going to sit in some of the same classrooms I sat in 65 years ago. I ask myself, will she be safe? I don't know. The windows are very old, and I mean old, and the doors are the same doors I walk through. I have been a substitute aide and clerical aide for many years in this school and worked in all 3 buildings. I can show you chunks of cement that are out of the elementary steps as you go up to the 2nd floor. I have to say in closing, the longer we delay in making these repairs and fixing damaged buildings, the higher the cost will be. I urge you to read all the comments submitted after the vote in December. Parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, these are your children who are attending this school in the Ellenville Central School District Complex. We want them to be safe in every way as they are our future. Thank you.
Thank you.
And one comment I have to make is, I don't know if anybody saw, this has nothing to do with the bonding, if anybody saw the winter concert. I just want to remind the board, last year I came before the board about the art department and the music department. And I asked that these teachers be recognized somehow. And it was Mrs. Rowan, Mr. Griffith, Mrs. Reese, Mrs. Motillo for art. And for music, it was Mrs. Warden, Mr. Trumley, Mrs. Gillette, Mrs. Schoonmaker, who the kids call Scoonie, and is very happy to have her back. And I do not, Mrs. Peck, and I do not know the brand new music teacher in the elementary. I haven't met her yet. So, but they've done a super job between the art show at the Hunt Memorial and also all the concerts, the band and everything. And you're not talking a few kids. I mean, if you were at the winter concert, you saw the amount of 7th and 8th graders that were up there on that stage. Those teachers do a great job, and they should be recognized. Thank you.
So you're, while you're there, you might as well just stay there remaining for a second, please. So your comments are timely in the fact that the board discussed tonight, and we are going to be establishing a committee for a Fine Arts Awards Night, which will recognize those very areas that you're discussing. Obviously, we are taking a look at we've looked and established a Hall of Fame committee which recognizes athletics, and rightfully so. We want to recognize all of our categories across the board and get those students and staff members properly recognized as well. So the board this evening will be establishing a committee to have a Fine Arts Awards Night in which we will take up those causes. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That being said, I'm going to ask for volunteers, 3 volunteers to take a look at working on getting a Fine Arts Awards Night up and running for this year. Mrs. Little, would you chair that?
Yes.
Willie?
I'll have to respectfully decline, Mr. President.
Thank you. Iris will work on it with her. Anybody? And Lisa. Thank you. So those will be our 3 members.
Thank you for your consideration, though, Mr. President.
Thanks. I thought you wanted to volunteer. That's one thing. All right. Cool. Okay, good. We will now call up Mr. Kermit Moyer for our Athletic Recognition Awards.
All right, we just wrapped up our basketball game, and the varsity and JV teams were victorious, if you did not hear that. So we're excited about that, and I wanted to. So I'd like to take this time first to thank Superintendent Wiles and the Board of Education for allowing our department to have this opportunity this evening, fix the microphone, this evening to recognize our fall athletes. We're going to be reviewing some team highlights. Recognizing our scholar athletes, those student athletes that had 98 average or higher over the course of the fall season, and also recognize our all-star recognitions and also have a tribute to one of our coaches. So without further ado, we're going to start off with boys and girls cross country, and again, these are the highlights from the season. We had participation numbers of 13 in total. We had 12 male athletes and 1 female athlete, and they did well academically. We had 6 out of our 8 programs finish as a New York State Scholar Athlete Team Award recipient. Cross country had a very good season. I would like to recognize them. They did have an 89.15 team average, so they just missed that recognition for the New York State Public High School. Moving on to field hockey, we continued to we added our junior varsity team this year, and we want to thank the board for their approval of that. We had a total of 14 athletes at the varsity level, 11 at the JV, and our modified numbers were very strong with 24. You can see the academic average of our athletes. 5 had a 90 or higher, and 4 had an 85 to an 89. And again, this team was one of our 6 that had a recognition for Team Scholar Athlete Award with a team composite average of 91.25. What I'd like to do is also like to review at this time to achieve this designation, 75% of the team's varsity roster would have to have that recognition. So they take 75% of the roster total, and then we compute their average. Our football program continued to have a 2-tiered program, varsity and modified B. Finished the season with 29 athletes at the varsity level and 28 at the modified. They overall had an academic 90 or above. They had 11 student athletes, and 5 had an 85 to an 89. They also had a very strong year academically. They did finish with an 87.84 average. So again, very strong academically, in the high 80s for football. Varsity golf, again, we carry a varsity only program. We had 5 athletes compete for our team this year. 3 out of the 5 were 90 or above. 1 had an 85 to an 89. They also achieved the designation for Team Scholar Athlete Award with a 90.21. Moving on to boys soccer, again, 3-tiered program. You can see the participation numbers there for each team and each level. And the academic average, 11 boys had a 90 or higher, 5 had an 85 to an 89. Again, a recipient for the Team Scholar Award winner, 93.10 team average. Continuing on with our soccer program, we have girls soccer. Again, a 3-tiered program. You can see that we had the participation numbers, 17, 14, and 24, moving from varsity down to modified B. Again, approximately similar to the boys, 11 girls had a 90 or higher, 85 to 89, 3 of them, a team composite average of 93.40. Our girls tennis team did real well again in terms of the Scholar Athlete recognition. This was the team of all fall sports that had the highest. They had 95.02. So we're super proud of not all of our athletes, but this was the team that had the highest grade point average. We carried 8 athletes on the team, and we have a varsity-only program. And our final team and our final program for tonight in terms of their program, varsity girls volleyball, varsity JV modified B. We had 6 girls with a 90 average or higher, 2 with an 85 to an 89, and they also received the designation for a 93.58. So again, we're very proud of our athletes and the accomplishments they had and the coaches that led their teams this season. At this time, what I'd like to do, and if I could have the assistance possibly of maybe one of the board members or Mrs. Wiles, you know, because. And again, every student athlete received an invitation, and many of them are here tonight. So with the assistance of Mrs. Wiles, we're going to hand out a certificate, and these students will also be recognized at the varsity athletic banquet in June.
Board members could just stand as they come through.
All right, so I'm going to read their names, and as you come up, and if you're in attendance, please come up and receive your certificate from Superintendent Wiles. And then if you would please circle in front of the board and receive a handshake from them for your contributions, okay? So again, these are in alphabetical order. Ethan Alexander, Quinn Avery, Kiana Barrett, Gavin Baxter, Maya Bennett, Isabella Castro, she's here, Joseph Cortez. Brian De Silva. Samuel Davis. Sam Davis. Sam here tonight. Andrew Dawson. Michael Doria. Megan Eckert. Our next student is Walter Evans. Walter's at a wrestling match this evening. Tyler Farenthiel. Catherine Flores. Sydney Franza. Elena Garrett. Justin Giuliano. And he is here. I wasn't quite sure if he was here yet. Kyle Guinea. I did see Kyle here. Sarai Hempt. Noah Hemstreet. Roman Harinovitz. I did see Roman. Nerman Ebrick. Samia Khan. Isabella Ligatino. Jason Lonstein. Jason is also at a wrestling match this evening. Emily Lutz. Lauren Mahaney. Mary Manolfi. Vanelise Malave. Jonathan McCombs. Joshua McNeil. Tessa Morris. Nicholas Moza. Edward Osinski. Catherine Pirelli. Janelise Pilot Hilario. Benjamin Pidell. Oh, Janelise is here. Benjamin Pidell. Timothy Placide. Alyssa Santiago. Sophie Santiago. Sierra Shaw. Hannah Stanforth. Colleen Stevens. Sarah Stevens. Nolly Stewart. Elena Stickles. Ireland Travis. John Unverzant. Mia Unverzant. Michael Whitehead. Eric Wright. Yep, thank you. You can stay right there, and we're going to hand these out. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's the first half of our recognition. I would like everyone, if you would please give these students a round of applause. I think it's appropriate. These are very hardworking student athletes who contribute greatly to their programs. They work very hard in the classroom, as evidenced by their grade point average. And again, all of these students will be recognized as well at the varsity athletic banquet. So we had some very good successes in terms of our teams, and you can see this up on the screen above us. Boys varsity cross country had a 7th place finish in the Mid-Hall Championships, 5th overall in the sectionals. Our girls field hockey team for the 2nd consecutive season qualified for sectional play. They lost to Taconic Hills in the semifinals. Girls varsity soccer had a very solid season also, qualifying for the sectionals for the 2nd time in 3 seasons. They played Liberty in a quarterfinal round game, had a good game, lost 2-0. And boys varsity soccer for the 12th consecutive year, went to sectional play in Class B, finished with a tie in a play-in game. Unfortunately for us, Burke advanced by winning a PK shootout. So it was a great game if any of you were there for that. So those are some of the team postseason accomplishments that I wanted to highlight. On the heels of that, what I'd like to do now is to talk about the individual postseason accolades, and when your name is called, if you're here, would you also please come up and receive your certificate. First, I'd like to congratulate Ashlyn Rivera. Ashlyn, come on up, please. Certainly cannot say enough about this young lady. If you remember from last year, she was here as well. Ashlyn finished second in the Section 9 Class C championships and qualified for her second consecutive New York State championships in cross country. That this year event was held down in Sunken Meadows State Park down in Long Island. So she has had a great season and is continuing her career with indoor and outdoor track. And she also was a dual sport athlete as she played field hockey this fall. Congratulations, Ashlyn. Next up is our 3 field hockey players that received Section 9 All-Star accolades. First team was Mia Unverzant. Second team was Megan Eckert. And the third individual is Ireland. I believe Ireland is here. And Ireland received honorable mention recognition. So Ireland, you can come back up and receive your certificate, please. Congratulations, Ireland. As we continue on with our postseason accolades, we had 2 of our outstanding football players chosen by the Section 9 Football Coaches Association as Class B awards. I believe they are both here. One's right next to me. He's going to take off his headphones and make his way up here. Elijah Williams was named a Section and a League All-Star by the Section 9 Football Coaches. Congratulations, Elijah. And next up is also a senior, Conrad Brissett. He receives League All-Star recognition as voted on by the coaches. Conrad, congratulations. Elijah, congratulations. We had this year in golf, we had another qualifier who's participated in our Mid-Hall Golf Championships. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. I don't think so. John Unverzat qualified and participated. Next up, I'd like to highlight our 2 girls soccer all-stars. Again, same thing. It's by the Coaches Association from Section 9. And these same young ladies, I think, are second-time recipients, as they were up here last year receiving similar all-star recognition. Colleen Stevens, a first-team recognition, and Christina Torres, a second-team. Okay, our final all-star recognitions are for our boys soccer program, and we had 2, and the first one is Christian Steinhauer by the Soccer Coaches Association, was named a Class B all-star. Next up is Justin Giuliano, and I'm very proud to announce his recognitions for this season. He's done a phenomenal job for us in all 3 of his sports. He was a Class B All-Star, a Section 9. He made the All-Section 9 team for all classes, and he is now also a New York State First Team All-State selection for small schools. And in conversation with Coach Mead, who I'm going to speak about here in a little bit, this is, I believe, our first recipient, right, Coach Mead? Just want to make sure I'm accurate. Who's made a first-team selection? We've been able to find. All right, so congratulations. Okay, the last thing I'd like to do, and I want to share with all the students that are here, if we could have a photo opportunity right here, would you guys be okay with that? If I brought the students back up, I thought you would be. I appreciate that. And along with Coach Mead. Coach Mead, you've done a wonderful job. You've had an outstanding career here, and it's my pleasure at this time to share with the board and with the community over his tenure what he has done and what he's accomplished, and for all the players he's coached, and many of his athletes are here tonight. During the course of this past fall season, and you may remember from last year, he earned his 100th career win. During this year, he earned his 109th victory as a leader of our program on October 3rd in a win over Weebatuck. This recognized Coach Mead for his long-standing tenure and his 109th victory, and that surpassed Mr. Tony Mioli as the winningest coach in Ellenville boys soccer history. His career total, as the season progressed, now stands at 114. Mr. Mead, would you please come on up?
So, Mr. Moyer, that would just be Pete Maioli.
I'm sorry, my apologies. I will fix it. That was my error, my apologies. Thank you. My apologies. So my apologies to Mr. Pete Mioli. I read this, had other people read it, so my error. So at this time, if all the student athletes that are here, please, would you come back up here and stand in this front section here? If we could, anybody wants to take a photo, Mr. Mead, if you would come with them, please, as well.
Mr.
And we'd
Moyer,
like all of you to come up.
Mr. Moyer, is that the student athletes from all of the programs?
Yes, the academic as well as the,
Could members of the board also join?
yes, certainly. So I know there's parents in the crowd that would like to take photos of this event. I can do that while I'm doing that. So as our student athletes get organized here, I also wanted to share a comment about Christian Steinhauer, who has tied. Christian Steinhauer has tied for the most career shutouts as a goalkeeper in a season. So again, congratulations. So we now have everybody here for a picture.
He's trying to get back to his old days. He never was. Dream on. Dream on. Dream.
Just doesn't let up on that. Yes.
All right, student athletes.
Very nice.
And our tribute to Coach Mead. Again, and I'd like to close by thanking all of our varsity coaches. I will recognize them here. Mr. Althouse is our cross-country coach. Coach Lyles is our field hockey coach. Mr. Kavanaugh is our football coach. Mr. Bonnets is our golf coach. And girls soccer is Coach Dahm, Mr. Matt Dahm, Jen Elger for girls tennis, and Coach Jasmine Rodriguez. They were our varsity coaches this past fall and did a nice job working with all of our student athletes. So in closing, again, I'd like to thank Superintendent Wiles and the Board of Ed. Thank you for your support of our athletics program and allowing us to have this opportunity tonight to recognize our student athletes. Again, it's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moyer. I think we owe a great deal of gratitude. All the athletes owe a great deal of gratitude to their parents, any caregivers that they have, their relatives, friends, for their support systems. Your accomplishments would not have been possible not for the effort of your parents. So please give your parents and those in attendance a round of applause, if you would. Thank you to all the coaches on behalf of the Board of Education. We appreciate your dedication and commitment to supporting our student athletes. And certainly it's been recognized in their accomplishments and certainly by their grade point average. You know, Ellenville takes a lot of heat and a lot of bad raps, I think, in the media as well. And I think what shows here this evening is that we do have an outstanding group of students and an outstanding group of athletes, and that should be recognized. So thank you. We will continue with our agenda for this evening. Under reports, information, and correspondence, under reports, I'm going to ask the policy committee to take up a review of our cell phone and our dress code policies, and please, at your next meeting, please review that. There's been some complaints about the usage, and phone usage, and certainly some of the dress code issues. So please take a look at the policies and then bring them back to us. And I will go on to board membership. Anybody have anything for this evening?
Mr. President, I know we just finished the Hall of Fame induction, doesn't seem that long ago, but with the athletic director, we're going to have a meeting starting in February again to start discussing the next year's class of inductees. So, I'm sure the district will be publicizing again and going on how people can make nominations. And of course, once you make a nomination, it always stays on. So we're looking for a bigger, better turnout next year. Thank you.
How's our committee on that? Are we good? Are we looking to make any? Is there any
We'll discuss that at the next board meeting, I'm sure.
Thank you. Iris?
I just had a question, and I guess Mr. Burns might know. So the plaques have been hung up in the hall, and that's all?
Well,
you know,
we had
displayed?
talked about developing an area strictly for the Hall of Fame, and we had in mind some of the renovations that might be done, and so we're going to hold off on that. But Mr. Moyer has the plaques, and they'll go up. I understand that the big corrugated plastic sign that we used at the ceremony is up, or it'll go up tomorrow. So it'll be in the gym for the remainder of the year, and then we'll get the plaques up when we settle that area.
Right.
It always is.
Thank you. Any other board members? If not, their student representative is not here. Do we have a report from them?
I do not have a report.
Okay, then we will go on to Superintendent Lisa Wiles.
I have three things this evening. I'm going to pass this around. The Ellenville Youth Football League provided the district with a copy of their yearbook. It's really nicely done. It's really promotes the program and features the athletes. So I'd really like to take the opportunity to thank the Ellenville Youth Football League for all of their hard work. They really are building a beautiful feeder program into our football program. So take a look at that, and if you want to take it, just if you can have it returned, if you want a copy of it, we can get you a copy of it. On January 24th at 6 o'clock in New Paltz, the Ulster County School Board will be having its Ulster County School Board's meeting. The agenda includes invites to the Ulster County representatives to the New York State Assembly and Senate. I don't have a list of who's coming and who's not, but that 6 o'clock, and the presentation starts at 6:30. Principal I from the elementary school has advised and notified us that a parent has nominated the elementary school for a $25,000 grant from Dannon Yogurt and ShopRite. The winners of the grant will receive $18,000 to be allocated for indoor and outdoor fitness equipment, lesson plan supplies, and in-house professional development, and there'll be $7,000 allocated of the 25 to install the equipment, and that information will be downloaded up with your next packet in board docs. And that is really all I have, except pay attention to the budget, our budget workshops that are coming up. We have a revised, Mr. Napoli gave you a revised calendar sheet, so that budget season is right upon us. That's all I have.
Thank you, Superintendent Wiles. Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mr. Napoli.
Thank you. When you sat down, there were two documents at your station. One is the revised budget calendar. I've highlighted in yellow what's changing. All we're doing is we're moving the technology department from the February 5th meeting to the February 19th meeting. And also at the last board meeting, I was asked for a report from the construction manager. That is also included. That's the schedule of values, the contract values. It's basically all the monies for each of the major trades of the capital project, where we stand, and any potential change orders that are still outstanding. And that's all that I have.
Mr. Napoli, if I may, just
Sure.
On the report that the construction manager provided, this isn't exactly what we requested, though. This is a comprehensive. It doesn't give us an idea of where the project stands. And also the question was the age of the change orders or pending changes, and there's no indication of that here.
Well, that's my fault. I didn't know exactly what we wanted, or I didn't understand. So maybe since you proposed that question, when we're done tonight, you can lay out for me exactly what we want,
Okay.
and then I will ask him for it in that exact format, because I did talk it over with Lou, and this is similar to what we had given in the past, and it was fine, so I can certainly ask him to change the format, and he can do that. I just want to make sure that I'm giving you what you're asking for.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp.
You're welcome. That's
You
all.
good, Vince?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next we will have Deputy Superintendent, Ms. Angela Urbina Medina.
Included in my report and part of the agenda for tonight's approval is a contract with Wild Earth. Wild Earth is a not-for-profit organization that promotes nature-based activities for children and families. We'll be working with Wild Earth this spring for several sessions of guided recess as well as an after-school program for students. I provided a narrative description of what the work would include and the scope of the work and the number of instructors that would be participating. From what the conversations that have taken place thus far, this opportunity sounds like it's going to be very beneficial for many of the students in the district and should provide us with sustainable activities that we will be able to incorporate in recess moving forward. And the contract and the cost will be covered under My Brother's Keeper.
Thank you. Nothing else, we'll move on to personnel resolutions for this evening. Under 6.1, upon the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, be it resolved that a .5 security attendant position be accessed.
So moved.
Been moved.
Second.
Seconded. Discussion. I do have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted a second.
Okay, you second. I do have a second already. Thank you. Do we have enough coverage for security in the high school at all times? Are there at least 2 people throughout the day up there?
There's always somebody in the lobby, and there's always somebody doing rounds, and then we always have an extra person in the cafeteria, so I would say we probably have more than 2 people at any point in time. I can give you a report of the schedules of where and when people are supposed to be, but off the top of my head, I would say yes.
Okay. I would ask you to take a look at that. Reason being is that there was an altercation up there, and I was told that we need to take a look and see maybe if we can make sure that we had enough security on for that day.
I'll take a look. If you can give me the date also. I know that there was one day when we were short
Yes, sir.
personnel, so if that happened, then it's kind of hard to control, but sure.
Okay. All right. Just take a look and make sure we have enough coverage, that's all. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. 6.2, upon the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, be it resolved that Stacy Tibbs and Michael Scarzafava be appointed substitute security attendants at a rate of $15 per hour worked for the 18-19 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. 6.3, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, be it resolved that the appointment of John Barbiani, computer technician, be made permanent following successful probationary period of 6 months, effective January 23rd, 2019.
Second.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. 6.4, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, be it resolved the following coaches for spring be approved as indicated for the 18-19 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this?
We filled out all our positions for the spring?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 6.5, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, be it resolved that the resignation of Piper Tickner as middle school after-school librarian be accepted effective January 3rd, 2019, with regret.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries. 6.6, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, be it resolved that the co-curricular personnel set forth on the list below be approved at the contractual rate listed for the 18-19 school year.
So moved.
There is one. Nick Finelli. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one? Motion carries unanimous. 6.7, upon the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, be it resolved that Rihanna Fagan's request for an unpaid child rearing leave of absence be granted from January 22nd, 2019 through March 1st, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries unanimous. Budget resolutions for this evening.
Motion to move 7.1 and 7.2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries unanimous. Under education,
Motion to move 8-1 and 8-2.
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries unanimous. Under construction, 9.1. Resolved that the change order RC 02 for a decrease in the amount of $15,000 for Titan Roofing be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries. Under other,
Motion to move 10-1 to 10-6.
Second.
we have a motion to move 10.1 to 10.6, and there's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No one. Motion carries unanimous. Mark your calendars. Our next meeting will be January 16th.
22nd.
No.
22nd.
No.
16th meeting. we
Workshop.
discussed. Yeah,
It's
workshop.
not a meeting.
It's- We will have a workshop on January 16th
No.
to discuss the referendum,
Construction workshop.
and then we will have our regular meeting on January 22nd, 2019. Anybody want to see anything else on the agenda for next meeting?
Yeah, capital project, yep.
Nothing for the next meeting? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed, no one? We're adjourned.
Nafisa.